with a huge rumored feud in AEW and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. During an interview with House of Wrestling, former AEW star Joey Janela said this about his future. I have goals right now. One of them is the WWE. I've talked to people about it and stuff, but not now, not anytime soon. I'm still 33. I've always said over the last 5 years, I can see myself signing to WWE when I'm 36. I don't know why. 36? I don't know, but I still have goals in Japan. I have goals. I'm having fun. I don't have to deal with any politics. I don't have to deal with people giving me for what I say on the internet. So we'll see, but WWE is always the goal. If WWE is not the goal for you and you're in the wrestling business, I don't know what's wrong with you, because the dream is to wrestle at WrestleMania, and it should be the dream for everyone. Talking about his late uncle Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero told Chris Van Vliet Eddie had a great mind for the business. He just didn't want to be on the road anymore. He loved his family a lot. He really, really did. And he wanted to be home with his family. I remember before he passed, like 6 months before, I remember him coming to me and saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I said, what do you mean? He said, I don't want to wrestle anymore. I said, dude, drop out and do something. He got really mad and said, what am I going to do? What else am I going to do? This is what we do. We wrestle. I said, it doesn't matter. Your family life is more important. What good is it if you are away from your family all of the time? That's why I left WWE. My kids at the time were 8 and 11 maybe, and I just didn't want them growing up without a dad. I had already been on the road for 20 years. I didn't want to be that casualty and divorced from wrestling in the whole thing. Everything you worked hard for and you lose it. I didn't want to get divorced. I didn't want my kids to grow up without a dad. That's kind of why I left. It's funny because they don't really remember me being gone all the time. On Twitter, Edge posted a video ahead of SmackDown as he is set to take part in the World Heavyweight Title Tournament. Here's the clip.
Hey everybody, so this isn't some kind of mapped out wrestling promo or anything. I'm sitting in what is my second home, a wrestling ring, trying to get in some reps before SmackDown tomorrow night, where I face Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles. And I can't say enough about those guys. I know AJ and I have had our differences in the past, and you know the history with me and Ray. Those two guys are the reason a lot of people are in our industry, and I expect to have one hell of a match. I also expect to win it. I have to. You know, some people have been running around saying they're going to finish their stories, right? And good for them. But it made me think a little bit about my story. The introduction of the WWE Heavyweight Championship, if I look at that thing, it even looks like the title that I never lost. Looks like big gold. 12 years ago, I was forced to give that thing up. Never had a chance to get it back. Now I have a chance. And it all comes full circle. You know, this ride, it's going to end sooner than later. Let's face it, we all know that. I got to get this done. It's the last thing to do. It's the period on the end of the sentence, right? It's the last sentence in the book. I got to get that stuff out of the basement. And, I just got to do it. You know, all of you that are watching this, I assume you've been with me on this ride, and I really appreciate it. It's going to end soon, and I got to end it right this time. And there's no better way to finish it than to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And then when I lose it, that's it. I'm done. So Ray, AJ, bring your best tomorrow. I know you will. Can't wait to see you in there, to be honest. Let's tear it up.
Touching on a future venue for WrestleMania, the Wrestling Observer said the 2027 WrestleMania is officially in Nashville at what will be a new stadium that opens that year. The idea is that Mania would be the first or one of the first big events at the stadium even before the Titans start playing there a few months later. Burton Hill, the president and CEO of the Titans, made that announcement. Giving an update on his former tag team partner Kyle O'Reilly and his recovery, Bobby Fish told Inside the Ropes, "Kyle's doing good recovery, rehab is on an uptick. He's doing better, but this is a slow recovery. I mean, I think the procedure and stuff Kyle had done was a long time coming. You know, he's tougher than nails. So what became his normal for years, what he put up with on a daily basis, and we being three of his closest friends, probably saw as much of it outside of his wife. We saw more of it than anyone else. So I think it was overdue. I just want him to have full recovery for his life, screw wrestling, just for his life. They got a new baby girl, she's beautiful, and he's living that dad life right now, so just happy for him." Speaking of injuries, Matt Jackson of the Young Bucks is seemingly ready for a comeback to AEW. As the Wrestling Observer newsletter said, Matt Jackson's recovery from a partially torn biceps has obviously gone quicker than expected with all the stuff he's done on television. He was actually cleared this week, a few weeks ahead of schedule, and was bumping and running the ropes in the ring before the May 10th show and has done resistance training for a few weeks. For the latest on the Elite negotiating new contracts with AEW, the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted, negotiations with the top guys whose deals are up, Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, have had no movement of late. Taking to Instagram, Booby Roode revealed that he underwent neck fusion surgery. As he wrote, "Another trip around the sun and another trip to Birmingham, Alabama. Quite a way to celebrate my birthday. Had a C4-5 cervical fusion to go along with the C5-6 fusion back in November. Most importantly, it was a success thanks to the man himself, Dr. Andy Cordover, and the first-class staff here at Andrews Sports Medicine. Big thank you to Neen for being my rock through this entire process. It's been a challenging year, to say the least. Road to Recovery, Part 2. Citing the search results for Backlash and other events over that weekend, the Wrestling Observer newsletter noted, while WWE touted its usual stats to make it appear Backlash was the biggest sports event of the weekend, based on Google searches, these were the numbers. 1. Kentucky Derby, 3.3 million. 2. Lakers, 3.05 million. 3. UFC, 1.1 million. Top individual Henry Cejudo. 4. Celtics, 1 million. 5. Warriors and Canelo Alvarez versus John Ryder, 700,000, which didn't do big pay-per-view numbers off television, just over double on television what AEW Revolution did, because it was most promoted as a DAZN pay-per-view rather than a TV pay-per-view. About 1/5 of Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, which was the most recent huge pay-per-view number, but that's comparing early buys with final buys of the latter show. 7. Backlash, 200,000, top individual Bad Bunny. When it comes to what is next for Lacey Evans, Steve Carrier of Ringside News wrote, Lacey Evans was drafted to SmackDown as a part of the 2023 draft. That doesn't mean that they know what they're going to do with her. We asked around, and at this time, Lacey Evans' creative direction in WWE is unknown. They simply have a lot of other things on the Blue brand they need to address first. Revealing his experience working with Chris Jericho in WWE, Paul London told Wrestling Then and Now, Chris Jericho, honestly, I'm trying not to censor or mute myself now, but don't always meet your heroes, Don't always meet your heroes. I loved Jericho as a kid. As you start to work with guys, you see different sides of them. I mean, no, he'll talk about himself enough, I'm sure. What am I going to add to him? With it reported that Will Ospreay will be a part of AEW's All In show in London, this apparently has roster members frustrated over Ospreay taking their spot. As Brian Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer Live, some wrestlers are upset about not knowing they're going to be on the show because they don't know if they're going to be on the show. Speaking of AEW All In, this was said about potentially having Bret Hart at the event. As the Wrestling Observer newsletter said, obviously, there has been a lot of UK sentiment toward Tony Khan to bring in Smith Jr. since he's already there, and Bret Hart for an appearance on this show. I don't believe Hart can legally appear due to his WWE deal, as that's the reason Hart has never appeared on an episode of Impact. While it's been reported that CM Punk's return match for AEW Collision would be Chris Jericho, it seems there is another feud on the table, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said. Sources close to Punk have indicated that he's become increasingly interested in working with Samoa Joe. Joe has not wrestled on All Elite Wrestling television since AEW Revolution, when he dropped the TNT title to Wardlow. However, he's been a regular on Ring of Honor television as their World Television Champion. Samoa Joe and CM Punk haven't wrestled each other in any capacity since August 2005, when they were involved in a four-way elimination match at ROH Redemption that saw Jamie Noble win the ROH World title. The two have a storied history across ROH, PWG, and the UK, with their last one-on-one match on record happening in March 2005. Joe and Punk went to two 60-minute draws in Ring of Honor, and Joe also pinned him twice. It was also noted that the outlet can't confirm whether the pitch/suggestion was for a one-off match or an extended program. Also, we have no confirmation on whether or not the match is actually happening, as AEW sources won't discuss anything related to Collision in general, much less the match is planned. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.